Hi, I'm Jean Szulc and welcome. Today I want to talk about what are musical motifs and why you should even care about them. First of all, this video will be divided into two parts, and the first one I will explain what are motifs, and the second one how you can use them, why they are useful, and I will actually link another video about motivic development, which is a whole other thing. I think you will learn a lot from this video if you don't know what motifs are. First of all, a quick disclaimer is that I don't know where you live, I don't know where you study music, but the thing is, around the world there are various different tendencies in ways people analyze music, people understand music. So even in different cities in the same state, you might find different analytical methods. So in this video I want to kind of create a wide understanding of what is a motif. So this may not be exactly what your teacher is telling you, what some institutions believe. The thing is, you can use this as basically your initial understanding of a motif, and then you will study the place you live or the place you want to study what it is in a bit more depth. There will be different explanations to what exactly is a motif, but this is one of them. It's not wrong, it's just not all of them. So basically, a motif is the smallest building block in music, and you will understand what I'm talking about in the future. But the thing is, for example, it could be a melody, like a small melodic fragment. It could be just a few intervals or one interval, or it could be simply a rhythm. There might not even be any notes on it. Also, sometimes it might even be a concept, depending on the type of music you are talking about. So I've seen people talking about this, motifs as in an ascending line with X notes, X amount of notes, or it could be all sorts of stuff. But the thing is, it is the smallest building block in music. Keep this in mind because it is really important. So let's say you have a musical phrase, a musical idea, which is basically a phrase. A phrase is often constructed with various notes, various rhythms, various stuff going on. But the thing is, you can divide the phrase in smaller chunks, and when you can't divide it any longer in a way that it remains relevant. So for example, if you divide a phrase into all the individual notes, you will just have a gathering of notes, simply notes, there is nothing particular about this. But a motif is basically the smallest fragments that you can divide but you cannot divide it, because if you divide it, it will become simply notes, So that's why I'm saying it is almost nothing. It's it can be almost nothing really, because you might have an ascending fourth. Let's say this might be a motif in no particular rhythm, and the thing is, for example, I used in my sixth for Vincent piano a 3-note motif, and Beethoven has used 4-note motifs all the time, and we'll see all of those in the future so that you actually understand what it is. But the thing is, think about this: if you have a phrase or a musical idea, you can subdivide it in many times. A motif is when you can't subdivide it any longer, because if you do, it will become simply notes hanging around. So that's basically it. So that we can identify a motif ourselves, I wanna maybe show you the most iconic and legendary motif ever, which is basically Beethoven's motif for the Fifth Symphony, his Fifth Symphony. So it is very common. It's this one. And the thing is, if you listen, especially to the first movement of the symphony, but if you listen to all the movements, you will find iterations of this particular motif. It might be the rhythms might change a little, they might be increased or they might be decreased. The interval at the end might change, but the thing is, this is a motif that is being used throughout the entire composition, and you cannot untie most ideas in that particular symphony. You can't untie them from this initial motif. So the thing is, a motif, because it is a building block, it is and it can be used in various different situations, in the sense that you can alter it in many ways, and sometimes it won't even be recognizable as the same thing. But the thing is, after you alter this particular building block, you can shape them in many different scenarios, and you can take something that is very simple and you can build monstrosities out of it, really. So a very important exercise for you is, once you finish this video, go listen to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony and listen, like have this motif in mind and just listen to the whole piece, always thinking about it, and just see where is it happening. So like there is just like so many times. If you listen to the first movement, you will hear it like hundreds of times, really. Like it will appear so many times, and you will really realize it quite quickly. Another less clear example, but still very clear, I will use Beethoven's Opus 2, which is a piano sonata. I will use Beethoven's Opus 2, number 1. We talked about this before. If we see the first two measures of it, we will see basically one phrase. This phrase is constructed with two motifs. So you have basically this ascending motif, which is an arpeggio, an F minor arpeggio, starting on the lower fifth, you know, so you have like a skip of fourth, going from fifth, and then root, and then it goes up. Then you have another motif, or like, there are a few ways you can analyze this motif. You can have that higher note, and then the triplets going a fourth down, and then the last note going like a second up, and so it's kind of almost like a higher note and then a turn around, like a note a third down. Or you can even not consider the like first note, and you can have just the like triplet and then the last note. The thing is, it doesn't really matter how you analyze this motif. You can consider both. But that's what I'm saying, like, we are discussing what is the exact motif in that situation, but we can't always be sure, like, if we take that initial note from the second motif in that phrase, will it become, like, unrecognizable, or are we taking too much out of it in a way that it becomes almost irrelevant, or are we actually getting closer to what the original motif is? We can't always be sure, and actually we can't ever be sure. Like, or sometimes we might be able to like get really close to what the composer was thinking, or maybe the composer didn't even think about this. But that's what I mean, like the central aspects about all of this is that we were able to like take this particular phrase that has two measures and divide it into two or three even different motifs. And we can understand how the composer, Beethoven in this case, will use it through the rest of the music. So once again, exercise, homework, however you want to call it, listen to this entire piece, or maybe the first movement only, as much as you have time, you know, and see what Beethoven did with it. Because the thing is, Beethoven did this flawlessly. It's like crazy. He was a master really at managing motifs and using them. So by listening to his pieces and paying attention to this particular aspect of the pieces, you will learn a lot. So do it, and you will learn. You will get a better composer. Okay, so now to the second part of the video. Why should you even care about all of this? So during the first part of the video, I was talking about how Beethoven and how composers take this little, really tiny ideas, a building block, and they build an empire. They build gigantic compositions, they build gigantic works of art, and works of art that are incredibly relevant. So the thing is, this is basically the reason why. And I'm gonna give you an example of this. So, for example, my sextet for winds and piano, which I have talked in this channel quite a bit because it has lots of examples about the stuff I teach. This particular composition was really based on this concept. It's maybe my composition that I use this to my fullest potential right now. So the thing is, I used a 3-note motif, and the entire like 8-minute piece is built only from this motif. Like everything is in one way or another derived from it, like not literally everything, but like everything revolves around it in one way or another. In that piece I had from the start this very clear motif, which is basically C, B, almost an octave up, you know, a 7th up, and then G, a 3rd down from B. Basically I had this in mind before I even wrote a single note. And when I decided to start writing, I just started playing with it. And things started to evolve, and suddenly I had an 8-minute piece in hands, and a piece I'm quite proud of, really. And the thing is, this piece took me a lot of work. It took like 5 months of work or something, like maybe 4, but I think it was more like 5. But the thing is, I worked so much on it, and I found so many different ways in which I could use this basic 3 notes. And the thing is, the piece turned out great, and I think it turned out very concise, which is very important. So the thing is, everything revolves around the same initial ideas, the same initial concepts, or in this case, the same initial idea or concept or motif, more importantly. So we have basically everything going around one concept. This makes a piece very concise. You might not have one motif. I showed that Beethoven example that had 2 motifs on the first phrase. So it doesn't matter how many motifs you have, but the thing is, in that piece I had it very clearly, that motif, this is what I'm going to use. In my newer piece, the one I'm currently working on, I didn't have this. I just started composing, I started getting ideas out of my head. Truth is, the point I got to, like some time ago, like 2 months ago or something, I didn't really know where to go, because I didn't make it clear for myself, like where or which were the motifs I was using. So truth is, I didn't exactly know what was the material I was working on, even though I had already like 5 minutes of music. It felt like trying to build a statue with my eyes closed. So it's like I'm not really sure like where I'm getting at, nor what material I'm using, except that like I kind of have a sense for it because I'm touching it. But like at the end of the day, it felt like I didn't know what I was working with. That's the truth, you know. I didn't know what tools to use with it. I didn't know where should I go with the material I had, because I didn't even know what the material I was using was. After I realized I didn't know the stuff I was working in or with, I just realized, okay, I have to get this clear. I did, and now things started flowing back again. And I am working on this piece a lot more consciously right now, and I know where I want it to go or where I don't want it to go, because I know the material I'm working with. I know like how can I shape it in different ways. If you don't know this, it almost feels like you're composing in the dark, or if you're composing without even like, it's like driving with your eyes closed, really. You don't exactly know where you're going. You don't even know what car you're driving. You're just like trying to get your best without knowing what you're doing. And of course, this is not the ultimate example or the ultimate explanation why you should learn this, why you should even care about this. But the thing is, in the moment, I didn't know where to go with my piece, what to do, where I was at. It felt crushing to simply don't know what I wanted for that piece. And after I learned this, or I already knew it, but like after I put this knowledge into use, things started flowing a lot better. Of course, composing is not easy. You will have hiccups, you will hit roadblocks and on and on and on. But the thing is, knowing this is one less hiccup, is one less roadblock. So please learn this, like study this a little bit further, read books about it. Books on form often have like what is a motif, because it's related to form. So I have another video on form here in this channel. I will link it here, and I talk about motifs, so I will put a link in this corner, really. And also I will put a video about motivic development. This is basically a like more direct explanation on how to use it, a more musical explanation with a little bit more theory. So how to use them, you will have to find your own ways to use your motifs, the motifs you write. But the thing is, if you want to learn a little bit more about how to write motifs, or actually how to write with motifs, watch this other video about motivic development. So thank you a lot for watching. I'm really glad you watched until the end. Go down in the description. I have left a Google form so that you can send me your questions. I want to answer your questions. I don't know what are your questions, so please let me know down in the comments or in the form, and I will make a video about it, hopefully. So thank you a lot. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.